Empathy, often hailed as a virtue, can be your greatest downfall. While society praises those who feel deeply for others, the truth is that unchecked empathy is a silent killer of your potential, happiness, and self-worth. It's time to wake up and realize that your excessive empathy is not a blessing, but a curse that's holding you back from living a truly fulfilled life. The Stoics understood this fundamental truth centuries ago, recognizing that while compassion has its place, allowing yourself to be consumed by the emotions of others is a recipe for disaster. In this video, we'll explore why your empathy is ruining your life and how to harness the power of Stoicism to break free from its chains. 1. The empathy trap. How your feelings are being exploited. You pride yourself on being an empath, someone who can deeply understand and share the feelings of others. But have you ever stopped to consider how this gift is being used against you? Your ability to feel what others feel makes you an easy target for manipulation and exploitation. People with ill intentions can easily play on your emotions, using your empathy as a weapon against you. Every time you allow yourself to be overwhelmed by someone else's emotions, you're giving them power over you. That coworker who constantly complains about their problems, they're draining your energy and productivity. The friend who always needs a shoulder to cry on, they're using you as an emotional crutch, preventing you from focusing on your own growth. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius understood this danger when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." By allowing others' emotions to dictate your mental state, you're surrendering your power and becoming a slave to external circumstances. Recognize that your empathy, left unchecked, is a vulnerability. It's an open door for others to walk all over you, to use your compassion for their own gain. The first step in reclaiming your life is to acknowledge that your empathy, while well-intentioned, is often misplaced and exploited. 2. The energy drain. How empathy is depleting your resources. Your excessive empathy isn't just an emotional burden, it's a massive drain on your physical and mental resources. Every time you take on someone else's emotional baggage, you're expending energy that could be used for your own growth and success. It's like trying to run a marathon while carrying weights for everyone else on the track. Think about how much time and effort you spend worrying about other people's problems. How many sleepless nights have you had, tossing and turning over issues that aren't even your own? This constant state of emotional turmoil takes a toll on your health, your productivity, and your overall quality of life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By allowing your empathy to control you, you're sacrificing your freedom and your potential. You're so busy feeling for others that you neglect your own needs and aspirations. Know that your energy is a finite resource. Every ounce you spend on unnecessary empathy is an ounce taken away from your own pursuits. Start treating your emotional energy like the valuable commodity it is, and stop wasting it on those who haven't earned it. 3. The identity crisis. Losing yourself in others' emotions. Your empathy is not just draining your energy, it's eroding your very sense of self. When you're constantly attuned to the feelings and needs of others, it becomes all too easy to lose touch with your own identity. You become a chameleon, changing your emotional state to match those around you, until you can no longer distinguish your own feelings from theirs. This loss of self is particularly dangerous because it leaves you vulnerable to manipulation and poor decision-making. How can you make choices that are truly right for you when you can't even identify your own desires and needs? You end up living a life dictated by the whims and emotions of others, rather than forging your own path. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, warned against this when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By constantly imagining and feeling the suffering of others, you're creating a false reality for yourself, one filled with unnecessary pain and confusion. 4. The responsibility overload. Carrying the world on your shoulders. Your empathy has tricked you into believing that you're responsible for the happiness and well-being of everyone around you. This misplaced sense of duty is crushing you under its weight. You've taken on the role of emotional caretaker for friends, family, and even strangers, convincing yourself that their pain is somehow your burden to bear. This martyr complex is not only exhausting, it's deeply unhealthy. By trying to solve everyone else's problems, you're neglecting your own growth and happiness. You're so busy putting out fires for others that you can't even see the blaze consuming your own life. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus addressed this folly when he said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." You cannot control the emotions or circumstances of others, no matter how much you empathize with them. You are not Atlas destined to carry the world on your shoulders. Your primary responsibility is to yourself and your own well-being. By constantly prioritizing others' needs over your own, you're not being noble, you're being foolish. Let go of this misguided sense of responsibility and focus on the one person you can truly help, yourself. 5. The emotional roller coaster, living at the mercy of others' feelings. Your excessive empathy has turned your life into an emotional roller coaster, with your mood constantly shifting based on the feelings of those around you. One moment you're riding high on someone else's joy, the next you're plummeting into despair because of another's sadness. This constant emotional flux is exhausting and prevents you from finding true stability and peace. Living at the mercy of others' emotions means you're never truly in control of your own mental state. You've become a leaf in the wind, blown about by every passing feeling of those in your vicinity. This lack of emotional self-control is not only draining, it's dangerous. How can you make sound decisions or pursue long-term goals when your mood is constantly at the whim of external factors? Marcus Aurelius understood the importance of emotional stability when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. By allowing your empathy to dictate your emotional state, you're surrendering your power and becoming a slave to circumstances beyond your control." 6. The boundaries breakdown. How empathy erodes your personal limits. Your empathy has led you to break down all personal boundaries, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. In your misguided attempt to connect deeply with others, you've sacrificed the healthy limits that protect your mental and emotional well-being. This lack of boundaries is not compassion, it's self-destruction. Without clear boundaries, you become an easy target for energy vampires and manipulators. You're always available, always willing to listen, always ready to sacrifice your own needs for others. But this constant availability comes at a steep price: your own peace of mind and self-respect. Epictetus wisely noted, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By allowing your empathy to override your boundaries, you've given up mastery over yourself. You're no longer in control of your time, your energy, or your emotional state. You've handed that control over to anyone who demands your attention. 7. The enabler's dilemma. How your empathy prevents growth. Your empathy, while well-intentioned, often does more harm than good. By constantly swooping in to rescue others from their problems, you're preventing them from developing the resilience and problem-solving skills they need to thrive. Your empathy has turned you into an enabler, stunting the growth of those around you. Every time you solve someone else's problem, you're robbing them of the opportunity to learn and grow from that challenge. Your friend who can't hold down a job, by always being there to lend money or provide a couch to crash on, you're enabling their irresponsibility. Your family member who's struggling with addiction, your constant emotional support without consequences is allowing them to avoid facing the reality of their situation. The Stoic philosopher Seneca recognized this trap when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By imagining that you're helping others through your constant empathy and support, you're actually creating a false reality where people don't have to face the consequences of their actions. It's time to recognize that true compassion sometimes means stepping back and allowing others to face their challenges head-on. By constantly cushioning the blow of life's lessons, you're not being kind, you're being cruel in the long run. Let go of this misguided notion that your empathy must always translate into action. Sometimes, the most empathetic thing you can do is nothing at all. 8. The resentment buildup. The dark side of constant giving. Your excessive empathy is breeding a deep, unacknowledged resentment within you. While you may pride yourself on your ability to always be there for others, the truth is that this constant giving is taking a toll on your emotional well-being. Every time you sacrifice your own needs for someone else, a little bit of bitterness takes root. This resentment is insidious. It starts small, a fleeting thought of, "Why am I always the one who has to listen?" Or "When will someone be there for me?" But over time, these thoughts grow and fester, poisoning your relationships and your self-image. You begin to see yourself as a victim, always giving and never receiving. Epictetus warned against this when he said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." By constantly focusing on what you're giving to others, you're neglecting to appreciate what you have and what you need for yourself. 9. The reality distortion and how empathy clouds your judgment. Your empathy is warping your perception of reality, clouding your judgment, and leading you to make poor decisions. When you're constantly absorbing the emotions of others, it becomes impossible to see situations clearly and objectively. You're so busy feeling what others feel that you can't step back and assess the facts. This emotional myopia is dangerous. It leads you to make choices based on fleeting feelings rather than sound reasoning. You might stay in a toxic relationship because you empathize with your partner's fear of being alone. Or you might make poor financial decisions because you're caught up in a friend's excitement about a risky investment. Marcus Aurelius understood the importance of clear perception when he wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Your empathy is giving you a skewed perspective, one that's heavily influenced by the emotions of those around you. 10. The self-neglect spiral, putting yourself last. Your empathy has led you down a dangerous path of self-neglect. In your constant rush to attend to the needs and feelings of others, you've forgotten one crucial person, yourself. This self-neglect is not noble or virtuous. It's a form of slow self-destruction that will ultimately leave you empty and unfulfilled. Think about how often you put your own needs on the back burner. How many times have you sacrificed your own rest, relaxation, or personal time to be there for someone else? This constant self-sacrifice is not sustainable. You're running yourself into the ground, depleting your physical and emotional resources without ever taking the time to replenish them. Seneca addressed this issue when he said, "We should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions opposed? What temptation resisted? What virtue acquired?" By constantly focusing on others, you're neglecting your own personal growth and self-improvement. It's time to break this cycle of self-neglect and start prioritizing your own well-being. Remember, self-care is not selfish, it's essential. You cannot effectively help others if you're running on empty. Start setting aside time each day for your own needs and interests. Learn to say no to demands on your time and energy that leave you depleted. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.